Hello, welcome to Closing the Distance. I am with Jeff Myers.
Hi, Morgan. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So enjoyed your sermon on Sunday. All are welcome.
Thank you. All are welcome because all are welcome.
You know, you would think it was not so revolutionary of a thing, but I mean, I have heard so many people, both like members and guests since then, who said that is kind of the thing that's drawing them to this place and that they feel that they're experiencing that and that they want to be a part of um, helping others to experience it too. So
Well, I'm
thank
so glad to hear that. And I think, I mean, the reason I'm drawn, or one of the reasons I'm drawn to Jesus Christ is his hospitality, grace, um, for flawed people. And because I definitely am, and most people are. And so I think we want to be a culture that embodies forgiveness, hospitality, compassion, to help one another on the journey of life and faith.
Yes. I loved the poem you started with. Like, for anyone who hasn't listened yet, can you
Yeah,
remind us?
Edwin Markham, I think he was like a 19th century poet.
Mhm.
Uh, it's um, it's what does it say? Uh, Something heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. Uh, they drew a circle to keep them out,
Mhm.
but love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. And it's this idea that we all draw circles, but are we going to draw circles that are inclusive, that are welcoming, trying to draw people into relationship, or are we going to hold people out and exclude? And I want to be a kind of person that is inclusive, and expanding my circle of connections and friendships and relationships.
Yeah, that's so good. And I also loved how toward the end you talked about if we are looking to be in a place where every single person acts and thinks exactly like us in all realms of life, theology and politics and social issues, we'll end up by ourselves in a
Right.
church.
Yeah. And so I think that's just a good thing to remember. Like when we expect, like, what are our expectations of relationships with people? Like, do we expect to agree on everything? That somebody's going to be a facsimile of me? That would be a very boring world. Those would be boring relationships. We would have topped out and we would not be able to grow and learn more. And so I think that's one of the things. I mean, one of the things I love, this happened the other day. There was somebody in their 70s at the church, and they said, "Oh, well, I've recently really changed my way of thinking about such and such an issue." And I was like, that was so cool. Like that they read something that changed their mind. They were open to adapting, that admitting that what I thought at one point was not what I'm going to think in the future, and having the openness to change and develop is really cool.
That's powerful. Not
Yeah.
what you hear every day.
No,
Yeah.
like usually it's like, I figured it all out and y'all don't know anything.
Right.
It's like, wow, okay.
Right.
That's
Even in your 30s, I get that a lot, you know?
yeah. With my 3-year-old, I get it even more.
Yeah. Trust me, I know all there is.
Yes, I know you identify with that sentiment as well.
Oh, yes, I do. Oh my goodness. Um, I have been thinking since your sermon about how we often can say like we are welcoming church, we are welcoming people. But I think of it kind of like um if we're inviting someone to our house, like we don't just say, you're welcome to come over for dinner. Like we say when and where, and we get on the calendar, and like no one's gonna just keep coming back
Hmm.
or just invite themselves over because we say you should come to dinner. And
Hmm.
so, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I always think of it like, I've heard it said, the church should be just where one beggar is showing another beggar where to find bread.
Yeah. And so I'm like, we just I think we can say that we're welcoming, and I do feel that in this congregation, especially, always a spirit of hospitality and welcome and invitation. But I'm wondering how we can take that step further of actually issuing that invitation to dinner.
Yeah.
Like getting to know someone enough to give them our address, or see what they're allergic to and what food groups they like. And so, yeah, I've just been thinking about what are ways that our congregation, especially, can take hospitality like the step
Mhm.
further.
Yeah. So I think, okay, a couple things on that theme. Number one, I think hospitality is a spiritual gift, and some people have it to a high degree and some people to a less degree. I think it probably tracks on to the extrovert, introvert um, kind of access, that those people who have the gift of hospitality, the leadership at the church have to recognize and be honest, that these people are very good at welcoming new people and including getting people connected. I think of like Scott Weimer on our pastoral staff as one of the all-time
Mhm.
extroverted, hospitable people. I remember when Rob Bell, the well-known Christian author, was doing a reading on a controversial book he had written, and there were picketers outside the church I was serving at the time, and Scott was running around, and I said, Scott, why don't you go and befriend the picketers out on Peachtree? And so he goes out there, and sure as a bird, by the time Rob was giving his talk, Scott had invited the picketers, and they were in the balcony watching the talk that they had been picketing just a few minutes before, which was really awesome. So I think like recognizing people in our midst who have the gift of hospitality and helping make them ushers, greeters, putting them on the kind of the front lines so that the introverts that and folks who find it really difficult to get out of their comfort zone and welcome new people, that they don't feel all of it on them. Now we're going to call them forward and ask them to step out, but it doesn't all, the pressure doesn't lay all on him. In fact, I heard what is his name's Scott Dudley. He's a pastor at a big church in Bellevue, Washington, First Pres Bellevue. And he did a he's got like a PhD in English at Stanford, but he went to undergrad at University of Washington. And he once told a story that he was like, he said, an introvert's introvert. He was terrified of like leaving his dorm room as an undergrad. But somebody invited him to worship on at Tuesday night at worship service at University Presbyterian Church called the Inn. And they used to do this thing where on Tuesday nights, when you would come in, there would be a greeter there and they had name tags and they'd say, Hey, what's your name? And you'd go, Oh, my name is Morgan. And they'd write Morgan and then you'd go. Well, Scott said he never talked to anybody. He was so scared. He said, then one day somebody said, Hey, would you be willing to be a greeter? And he said, I don't want to do that. I said, it's really easy. All you got to do is stand at the door, ask people their names, welcome them, and then write their name down. And he said it changed his life being a greeter. That he showed him he could get out of his comfort zone and be kind of amongst the people. Now he's one of the great preachers in America. I mean, he's fantastic. If people haven't checked him out, Scott Dudley. But he pointed it back to that moment that he stepped out and became a greeter. And I think like we need to call people out to get out of their comfort zones, but then also recognize the spiritual gifts of the folks around us. And then like people who
Yeah.
are kind of up front, people like me, people, clergy, the choir, we have to be ready to be, you know, all in on welcoming new people, connecting them, helping them make friendships. And then, and you talked about with the image of dinner. I think we have to have various events that welcome different kinds of people. So this is
Yes.
what I mean. Like, you were just saying you were at Theology on Tap last night,
So good. Oh my goodness.
which is awesome, and I want to hear more about it.
Yeah.
Um, but like, that's the kind of group. Like, okay, this is for 20s and 30s somethings.
Mhm.
That, they're living kind of the similar life. You can that group's at size. You can kind of be a wallflower if you don't want to talk. You can just sit and listen. and then let the talkers talk, but you can be a part of it. Whereas if you're part of a small group, let's say of 5 to 7, well, you better be ready to talk because it's going to be awkward. And
Yes.
and there's a certain level of intimacy and relationship in a 5 to 7 person group, whereas in a 15 to 20 person group is very different. And then we have like barbecues, we'll have several hundred. So somebody definitely might feel much more comfortable in something like that than going to a Bible study or community group where maybe they're not comfortable talking about their faith yet with others.
Mhm.
And so I think having a wide menu of options so that people can kind of figure out where they feel most comfortable as they get connected to the community.
I love that. That makes me think of a couple of months ago, the women of RPC had a dinner and line dancing. So the dinner, we were all at tabletops of like four. So you really got to have some
Yes.
casual, but also deep conversations. Some people left after that who were
Yeah.
not down to line dance. But honestly, because of it was very intergenerational. We're looking around at each other. None of us are professional dancers. Well, there were two actually that are professional dancers. So we let them lead us. But all of us were like age 25 to maybe 80. And we were
That's
like, we're all going and we're just going to put ourselves out there. And it was a group of like, I want to say 30 women.
wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And there was some like mother daughter. It was cool. But that was something where we were all just like, none of us are experts in this. We're doing it. We're going to look silly. We're going to have fun. And we did. And I think
That's so cool.
it
And I
took,
think like a place like RPC, one of our unique contributions to the universal church is
mm,
that in an era where a lot of churches focus in kind of on one demographic, young adults or young families, or we've got all older folks,
mhm,
70, the retired group. Well, we have a really wide and diverse um, aged congregation. And I think there's something you can come in and there's people there that you go, oh, I know what it's like to be a young mother. I'm a young mother too. Let's grab coffee and share, commiserate together.
for
Or
sure.
there's somebody you can say, I need some advice for somebody who's parented 2 daughters and they're healthy, they're well adjusted. I need some advice because I'm struggling right now. And you can go to somebody who has grown up kids or grandkids, and they're out there in the congregation, which I don't think is true at a lot of places.
I don't either. And it's a beautiful part about the church. Like I think it's really rare in our society to find that type of space where
Uh,
you have these deep relationships across the generations. It's
Yes.
one of my favorite parts about this
Yeah,
world.
and I think that's a really cool, and that's one of the reasons I was drawn to RPC in a church like ours because I think it's fairly unique, and I think trying to cultivate that kind of culture where age diversity is important, experience diversity is really important, um, and not see, well, I've kind of gotten too old, for the church, or I'm too young for all these old people. No, that we're all in it together, and we're recognizing there are certain gifts people have, and there's certain gifts we can receive from them, but also gifts we can offer one another.
Yeah. What advice would you have? We're kind of pivoting into our fall season, kicking off our program year. What advice would you have for people who have either not found their place yet? They haven't maybe tried a Sunday school class or a group of some type, or are just kind of visiting for the first time and wanting to get involved?
Yeah, I think you have to find a group to shrink the church.
Mm.
It, we let's say we have 2,500 members, give or take. I'm not going to know everybody, you know, and I'm here every day. Like, that's not what we're trying. That's not the expectation we have of everybody. The expectation is that you're going to find your people within the congregation. And so I think Bible studies, and I mean, I know you teach a virtual one. We've got, folks who work can take an hour out at their lunch break and and
Mhm.
participate and get to know folks virtually. We have in person almost every day of the week. There are opportunities to get involved. I think that's one way. I think also serving. I think, like could be an usher, but every month we do these uh, Roswell Presbyterian volunteer events where you can make sandwiches. And I think like serving in a really concrete way gives you something to do so you feel like you're being useful, but it also makes it less awkward for some of us who, you know, some of us, if like let's have coffee. That's going to be with a stranger. That's just going to be difficult for us to do. But if we're doing something, a third thing, then we can have a conversation kind of while we're, oh, what kind of bread? What's your strategy for making sandwiches? Oh, I really like the meat first and then the cheese, then the bread. Oh, I really think it's the other, like you can do that kind of thing. And that gets you kind of going to build a relationship with somebody. What do
Yes.
you
Yeah.
think? I mean, you're on member engagement. What's your
Member engagement.
advice?
Um, well, I think like my biggest advice would be to try something out, but to not just try it once.
Yes,
Try it 4 times in a row, 5 times in a row if you can. And then if it doesn't work and you tried and it's not a good fit for you, like whether it's a book club or a Bible study or a Sunday school class, it's okay. You're not locked in. Try
right,
something new until you find something that works for you and people you connect with. Because I was thinking about how the like a regular attender in an American church these days is once a month is a regular attender. So I'm like, if you try something once, you're really only catching such a small glimpse into what that community, that part of the community is. So I guess my
that's
advice would
right.
be, yeah, try something for a little bit, and if
Yeah,
it doesn't fit, don't feel like you've done it all.
yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I've always said, like I think like churches tend to have like an expectation that if you join like let's say a Bible study, that you're joining it in perpetuity. Like
You're here for life.
you're like we're never gonna let you go. And I think like that's what like having seasonal studies are really important. Like this summer, the women's ministry had a women's Bible study, all the other Bible studies combined together. They got to meet a bunch of new peoples on Wednesdays, but it was just for the summer. So it was very good. Like you didn't feel like you were committed forever. It was, 8 weeks. We're gonna have a great time, but then it'll be done, and we can move and try other things. And so we do self-consciously try to do those opportunities. I'd encourage people to take advantage of them because I think it's relieves the pressure of when you feel like you've joined something in perpetuity forever.
Right. Yeah, and we have a Sunday school class that's for um kind of a all-in larger group class that starts September 7th, and it's
Oh,
living the fourth quarter with the spirit. Um
yes,
and it talks about aging and finding your purpose and refinding your purpose. And I think we often think of new people as who needs to get welcomed or find a space here, but I think when people make transitions, like maybe you had kids at home and now they're, out of the house, or maybe you retire or whatever life transition happens, we kind of have to find a new way of being in the church.
right.
And so I think of things like that class being a good place to get in, meet a large group of people, and then branch out for there because it's like
Yes.
a 2 month class.
Yeah, and that's going to be an exceptional class. I've talked to Rick and Stephanie who are going to be leading it, and I think it's a project and kind of topic that I'm passionate about myself. So I'm really interested to see the impact it makes for people who are thinking about retirement and aging and what does it mean to be called and have a sense of vocation after you go
Mhm.
through those transitions.
Can't wait.
It's gonna be
Also,
awesome.
obviously, if anyone is looking to get involved or pivot, reach out to me.
Yes, Morgan at roswellpress.org.
Yes, I would love to help you find your people here.
Yes,
Great. Well, thanks for
awesome.
chatting, Jeff, and hopefully everyone will come to kickoff on Sunday the 10th.
Yeah, after the 10:45 and 11 o'clock service, it's going to be a great time. Let's pray for no rain, and it'll be fun to get to know a bunch of folks. I know the team that's been planning has come up with a bunch of fun ideas to really, I think, um, help engage people and get them connected. And I think that's really exciting. That's what we're here for.
Oh, yeah. Well, until next time.
All right. I'll see you soon, Morgan.
See ya.
Bye
Bye.
bye.